If you're waiting on your refund, you're not alone. The IRS just updated its refund tracking system, but delays are still happening. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly what you need to know when your money is coming. So let's go ahead and break this down. So if you've already filed your taxes, now the big question comes, when will that refund hit your account? So the IRS began officially processing 2024 tax returns on January 27th, 2025, and that means the countdown starts now. But your refund timeline really depends on how you filed and whether your return has any special processing factors. So let's talk about one of the best ways to go ahead and get your taxes filed, and that's through e-file with direct deposit. All right, so this is going to be your fastest option. So if you filed electronically and selected direct deposit, you're in luck. That's the fastest way to be able to get your refund. And the IRS aims to be able to process and issue most of the refunds within 21 calendar days from the date that they receive your return. And in some cases, taxpayers have seen the refunds arrive as little as 7 to 10 days, but don't think that's going to happen for everyone. All right. So 21 days is like the standard when it comes to actually getting your refund. And just so you know, setting up your direct deposit with the correct account details is going to allow you to be able to avoid delays. So even like a simple typo, right, in your account number could literally mean waiting an additional multiple weeks longer for your return. All right, next, you also have the option to do a paper return if you're going to get a paper return. And if you mailed in a return in that way, it can take up to 4 weeks or even more for your return to get entered into the IRS system. So before they even start processing it. And once it's finally processed, then the refund can still take another 4 to 6 weeks to be able to arrive. So that means you might not see your refund to 8 to 12 weeks in total if you're going to go ahead and do a paper return. So just so you know, the IRS is still catching up from previous backlogs as well. So if possible, try to avoid mailing your return and doing the e-file instead to be able to speed up the process. All right. Also, if you claim certain tax credits, right, expect a mid-February hold. So if you claimed the earned income tax credit, also known as EITC, or an additional child tax credit, also known as ACTC, here is a non-negotiable rule, right? So federal law requires the IRS to hold refunds that include these kind of credits until at least mid-February to prevent any issues or any quote unquote fraud as it relates to this, right? So if everything is processed smoothly, you should be able to expect to see that refund by March 3rd of 2025. Also, the IRS refund tracker, Where's My Refund, is expected to be up to date with the EITC and ACTC refund statuses by February 2022. All right. So if your refund seems delayed beyond March 3rd, you just want to make sure you double check your tax return for errors or verification requests from the IRS. All right. So let's talk about where things get a little bit interesting here. So even if your refund is approved, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get your refund instantly, right? So there's also going to be bank processing delays as well. So some banks actually hold deposits for 1 to 5 business days before making any funds available. So like I said, if you're going to do paper checks, that's going to be a lot more risky to be able to get those refunds in that way. And they're actually 16 times more likely to be lost, stolen, or even delayed versus direct deposits. Also, if you're going to go in that way, the IRS is also going to do reviews, right? So if your return actually gets flagged for review, there's going to be additional verification steps that can extend your wait time by weeks or even months in some of those instances. So if you're still wondering, okay, where's my refund? You want to hang on tight because you also want to make sure there's no avoidable mistakes slowing things down for you, right? So here is how to be able to actually track your money and find out where your tax refund is going to be tracked. All right. So the fastest, most accurate way to be able to check your refund status is by using the official IRS Where's My Refund tool. You could be able to access it in 2 ways. You could do it online by visiting irs.gov/refunds. There's also a mobile app as well. You could be able to download the IRS To Go app, which is available on iPhones and Androids. And this tool is really important because it gives you real-time updates directly from the IRS without having to call and wait on hold for hours and hours, waiting for someone to be able to pick up to give you information about it, right? So here is what you need to do to check your refund status. So before you check, you want to make sure, again, these three key details are handy, right? So you obviously have your social security ready to go, and this is going to be used to be able to locate your return. You want to make sure you know exactly what your filing status was when you filed your return. So whether you're single, married, filing jointly, married, filing separately, head of household, etc. You want to know your exact refund amount. All right. So this much must match exactly what's on your tax return. So you want to make sure you have that number as well. And if the system does not recognize your info, just double check that you're entering the exact dollar amount, not rounded, not estimated. It has to be the exact number to be able to get the correct information for that. All right. So when will your refund status be up to date? All right. So like I said, patience is key. The IRS only updates the tool once per day overnight. Typically, they'll do this between 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. Eastern time. So trying to refresh it multiple times a day is not going to speed things up. If you e-filed, your refund status should appear within 24 to 48 hours after you go ahead and submit your return. And if you mail your paper return, like I said, expect to wait 4+ weeks before it even shows up in the system. So here is how to be able to understand that once you get into the tools and understand how the app works. All right. So when you check, you're going to see one of three refund statuses. So number one, you're going to either see a received. All right. And that means that the IRS has received your return and is processing it at this stage. So that means that there's no errors detected so far. And that status can last anywhere from a few days to several weeks, depending on the processing speed. The other status that you can see in there is approved, and that means that your refund amount has been confirmed and the IRS has scheduled it for release. Like I said, most taxpayers are going to see this status within 21 days of filing the return if they e-filed it. If you went ahead and did one of those tax credits that I mentioned, the earned income tax credit or the additional child tax credit, expect that the update's going to be closer to late February. Okay. And then last but not least, you're going to have the sent status, and that means your refund has been issued. And with direct deposit refunds, usually you should be able to get those between 1 to 5 business days, depending on your bank. So, like I said, some banks have their processing days and times that they kind of hold on to the funds, right? Paper checks, those can take a little bit longer, an additional 2 to 3 weeks to reach your mail. If your refund is lost or delayed, you might have to request a refund trace through the IRS officially to make sure that you're able to trace and figure out where your refund and where your check has went to, right? Other refund status messages you might see. So if something's wrong, the IRS may display one of these messages. It could say a tax topic 152, and this is a general message about refund timing. No action is needed. You might see tax topic 151, where your refund is under review, and you might get a letter requesting more information for it. Also, your refund is delayed, and that can mean that there's an issue like identity verifications, some math errors, or some missing forms as well. So if you get one of these error messages, you get a review notice, you don't need to panic. Just go ahead and follow the instructions given. Some reviews can take weeks, possibly even months to resolve. So you just want to make sure you respond as quickly as possible to be able to avoid delays. And if you need any more help when it comes to this, you want to make sure you go ahead and contact the IRS directly. So you should only call the IRS if one of the following things happen. So if it's been more than 21 days since you e-filed and your status hasn't been updated, you want to make sure you call the IRS. If it's been more than 6 weeks since you mailed a paper return with no updates from the IRS, you want to make sure you call them. If the IRS requests additional verification from you, such as ID confirmation, you want to make sure you call the IRS, and you can go ahead and call the IRS on their IRS refund hotline, which is going to be 1-800-829-1954. It's an automated system that's going to be available for you 24/7. If you want to be able to talk to a live IRS representative, you can call 1-800-829-1954. 1040. And just expect the long hold times during tax season. Of course, it's going to be busy. So you want to make sure that you're doing that. But bottom line is this, right? Stop refreshing every 5 minutes. That's not going to change the status per se. Use irs.gov or IRS to go once per day to check your status. If your refund's delayed, you want to look out for the messages as well. If it goes beyond the 21 days for e-filing or 6 weeks with paper and there's no updates, you want to go ahead and call the IRS directly, right? And I'm going to be sharing more updates on this as it relates to tax season. So make sure you go ahead and subscribe, share this with someone that you believe can benefit from this, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.